is going to end up in the skimmer. So like that can over there, it's going to be in the skimmer tonight. When is it going to be in it? I'm not sure. Later. So that's the skimmer.
There's just supposed to be a buoy in there?
Well, really nothing should be in it, right? So this is the stuff that it's finding. Yeah, I just want you to find it, guys. So can I get a little space here? All right, all right. And I'm not actually the one who knows how to do this. I got my coworker Max is the expert here, so I'm just acting like I know this. So someone was asking what can fit in it. Well, the reality is anything that's 18 inches wide can find its way into the skimmer. You know.
How much tide will it handle?
What's that?
How much tide will it handle?
The unit requires 5 feet of water.
What about the up and down?
Well, we had a unit over at Sail Newport. A little bit too much wave activity out there. So this is actually a really good spot. It can move around maybe a foot, you know. I wouldn't allow it to move much more. Notice the struggle that it's happening?
Yeah.
It's gonna get its way in there, but I can't tell you when. But the little flaps are there to make sure nothing comes out of it, but it does prevent large buoyant objects from getting inside of it. But eventually it will find its way in.
So the pump is pulling the water down?
Yeah, so this pump right here, in here, that pump is ejecting the water out of the unit. So it's pulling the water from the unit and it's ejecting it out. Because the water's getting ejected out, the water's coming in at the surface.
So there's nothing actually pulling what's collected down into the skimmer?
Not at all. Everything in the skimmer is basically neutrally buoyant and it's just swirling around. It's waiting for someone like myself to come down and scoop the material up. You could add some type of automated device that could come in and lift up the material, put it into the bucket, and then it would be somewhat more automated.
How often do you have to empty it?
So this unit gets emptied about 1 to 3 times per day.
A day?
Yeah, so the unit ran, it was emptied yesterday afternoon, it was emptied this morning, but because of the wind direction, it was emptied at lunchtime and now it's where it's at right now. So because the southwest wind is blowing, a lot of things accumulate here. In the next few days when the weather's a little bit cooler and it's a little bit rainy and drizzly, the wind direction for like Tuesday through Friday is going to be out of the northeast. Nothing's really going to accumulate here. So on those particular days, the harbor master will come down, see that it's running, and say goodbye. But on the other days, it's very busy. You'll have to come down here 1 to 3 times a day.
Wow.
So on average, takes about 10 to 15 minutes to empty the unit. It goes into this container, and unfortunately, most of it has to be put into the landfill. So, 'cause it's all mixed match with everything.
What are those tanks for?
Yeah, so on the side of the unit, what you see are called ballast tanks. So what they're doing is they're making sure that the unit is floating at the right level so that the pump operates correctly and that the materials can flow into the unit. Something that I didn't mention up in the talk earlier that I want to mention to you now because you can kind of see it is the unit is really known for collecting litter and marine debris. But a really important part of the unit that isn't talked about, that is just as important, is these bubbles that you see around here, the unit's pumping dissolved oxygen into the water column. And just like when we breathe oxygen, dissolved oxygen in the water is really important for marine ecosystems and habitat. So all the living creatures in the ocean need dissolved oxygen in the water. So this unit is adding dissolved oxygen to the area, which is going to help the ecosystem flourish. Now another thing that adding oxygen to the water column does is it breaks down hydrocarbons and it emulsifies oil sheen. So like things from boats, oil, and gasoline, they're all in the water column, but by adding air to it, it breaks them down. And then as the oil sheen floats into the water, it actually attaches to the seaweed. So the seaweed that gets collected actually is serving a really important purpose because it's almost acting like a sponge to collect the debris.
Buoy sharks got in there.
Yeah, the buoy could have a hard time. Again, it's like watching paintbrush. It could take a night. So that's two things that are happening. Like we can look over here. If you look, you see the little bubble. So the aeration of the unit is impacting even the water on this side. You can't see it as much. You can also see some little jellyfish.
Is that the jellyfish?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the unit is oxidizing all of the water around here, which is slowly breaking up persistent organic pollution that's been around for a long time. So that's what's going on. So all this material will eventually find its way over here. And again, some of the things that you're seeing in here, you can probably identify, right? That looks like an egg, right? But you can say, okay, that's an egg. It's also a slice of lime, which might have something to do with this straw, and then some type of wrapper. But then the next thing you'd find is like these little pieces of foam, you know?
That was like foam airplane that crashed.
And these are the type of things that you just wouldn't really find at a beach cleanup because they're just really kind of too small to pick up. But this unit doesn't really care. Now you'd ask yourself the question, where did this dart come from, right?
That's a Nerf gun.
It's a Nerf dart. Now what we don't know is when did this happen. Like it could have happened, I don't know, years ago. And this could have come in on the tide today. But meanwhile, we just don't know. And then we'll find this little red piece right here. Like, you might be able to find that at a beach cleanup, but you probably wouldn't pick it up. And what's it from? We're not really sure. But the unit doesn't care. The unit's doing its job, and it's removing all this stuff. And again, this is what the operator would do, is they would come down here. Now, they wouldn't look through it. They would just empty the unit.
Stuff it into that blue thing.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. What do you think it is?
Cup.
So it's got some shape to it. Maybe it's the top of a bottle.
Plastic.
I just
You
want to
know?
know if that egg's hard or not.
Somebody's laundry detergent.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do is we try to find every color of the rainbow as a way to kind of think about what we're finding here. And I only say we're going to do this because I just found some purple.
Oh.
That ace an egg.
It was actually an egg?
Yeah, and it's like weird black.
It's gross
Right.
now.
It's a century egg.